Mangwanani Mwalelepo Vugenjani Vanave Africa. Welcome to this show that keeps you abreast with the latest happenings across the continent. My name is Aina Raizakoya alongside Diana Master Moro. How are you?
I'm doing well. How are you doing today?
I am doing.
You're doing relatable, felt, hashtag, retweet, like,
relatable
share,
content.
Relatable content. One thing about you, you will give us relatable content. All right, now in today's broadcast, we're going to be crossing on over to Cape Town to speak to Ari Hohat, as well as give you the latest news happening on the continent and beyond. Stick around because top stories coming up right after this.
I think Namco is changing the game.
The service at Namco is amazing.
Fast and friendly.
Always ready to cater to you.
Use them often when we do our trips.
Namco is the one.
In our top stories this morning, greedy Speaker Nelly Mutti dragged to court over late father's estate. Shocking details have emerged about how Speaker of the National Assembly Nelly Mutti grabbed her late father's estate, depriving her 22 siblings of their benefits. The detail shows how Speaker Mutti, who earns in the region of 80,000 Zambian kwacha per month and is on life pension, has used her lofty position in society to deny other children a share of their father's estate. The family has since sued Mutti in the Mugu local court, seeking the reconversion as administrators of her late father's estate, although she has refused to sign the court papers. The family is now threatening to have the writ of summons published in the daily newspaper after Mutti refused to have the court papers served on her or her lawyers. In 2021, Mutti's father, Go Brown Kashuba, a prominent Mongu businessman, died, and as the firstborn child, the family appointed her as administrator. According to close family sources, Mutti immediately started off grabbing property and transferring it in her name without the approval of other children.
Now getting into our next story, South African government tells Zimbabwe lecturers on exemption permits that their services are no longer required. Several Zimbabwean and Lesotho lecturers on exemption permits allowing them to work in South Africa have been told their services are no longer required by the Department of Higher Education. They head to court this week to have their dismissal set aside as unlawful. The Zimbabwe Exemption Permit Holders Association said this is the latest salvo in a campaign to rid South Africa of Zimbabweans, even though most of them have been working in South Africa for more than a decade. The Zimbabwe Exemption Permit system was introduced more than a decade ago to regularize the status of Zimbabweans illegally in South Africa due to political and economic hardships back in Zim. The Department of Home Affairs last year announced that ZEP system would be terminated in June 2023 and ZEP holders would have to apply for regular South African visas. ZEPA argued that Home Affairs critical skills list, which determines the skills needed to apply for regular visas, is designed to exclude the majority of ZEP holders, most of whom are in artisan and lower skilled trades. The department's decision to end the ZEP system is being challenged in 3 separate court cases, all claiming it would lead to a humanitarian catastrophe that will encompass the entire region. This comes just weeks after ZEPA approached the High Court in Pretoria, claiming the children of ZEP holders who had grown up in South Africa were being denied registration at schools. In that case, the respondents were the ministers and departments of Basic Education and Home Affairs. Now, the government backed down in March, and the court ordered that children of ZEP holders with ZEP permits at higher education institutions in South Africa are being let go by the Department of Higher Education, according to ZEPA.
In our next story, US, UK and Australia agree on nuclear submarine project. The US, UK and Australia have unveiled details of their plans to create a new fleet of nuclear-powered submarines aimed at countering China's influence in the Indo-Pacific region. Under the AUKUS pact, Australia is to get its first nuclear-powered subs at least 3 from the US. The allies will also work to create a new fleet using cutting-edge tech, including UK-made Rolls-Royce Creator. Beijing has strongly criticized the significant naval deal. Its foreign ministry on Tuesday accused the three nations of walking further and further down the path of error and danger. China's UN mission had earlier also accused the Western allies of setting back nuclear non-proliferation efforts. But US President Joe Biden said the deal was aimed at bolstering peace in the region and stressed the submarine would be nuclear-powered, not nuclear-armed. Speaking alongside the UK and Australian Prime Minister Rishi Sunak and Anthony Albanese in San Diego, California, Mr. Biden said the deal would not jeopardize Australia's commitment to being a nuclear-free country.
Now Mozambique about to join Africa 50. Mozambique is in the process of joining Africa 50 platform to facilitate access to funding for infrastructure projects. Headquartered in Casablanca, Morocco, the Africa 50 platform was established by the African Development Bank and African states to support and facilitate the development of infrastructure projects on the continent by mobilizing public and private sector funding. The desire to join this financing mechanism was expressed in the Maputo Daily Noticias by a source in the Ministry of Economy and Finance, explaining that in a context of tax restrictions and infrastructure gaps that persist in the country, Africa 50 can be an appropriate catalyst to meet the country's development challenges. According to the source, Mozambique's entry into this platform will allow the country to monetize existing infrastructure assets by farming them out to private sector, with funds received to be reinvested in other priority projects.
Kaduna's ex-governors should swear they never stole from treasury. El-Rufai. The governor of Kaduna State, Nasir El-Rufai, has said that he has never stolen money from the state government and that he is ready to swear to prove he is telling the truth, challenging his predecessor. And the governor said they should also come out to swear if their hands are clean, as he threatened to expose them for pilfering the state treasury. El-Rufai said in an interview in Hausa monitored on a local television and radio station, they were explained that philosophy in governance was not to steal, adding that he is aware that there should be a day of reckoning, stating that all the loans secured to facilitate projects in the state during his administration were used only for specified projects. This is according to El-Rufai.
We close off our top stories in Zimbabwe, where President is to announce ministers' performance. President Mnangagwa is this week expected to announce how cabinet ministers, permanent secretaries and heads of government agencies and departments performed under contracts they signed last year when he presides over the signing of this year's contracts on Thursday. The president introduced performance-based contracts as a way of fostering a high-performance culture among office bearers to enhance accountability and good governance. This follows the new dispensation's commitment to making public the performance of government officials as a way of promoting efficiency and transparency. Now, in a statement, the Office of the President and Cabinet said this year's performance contract signing ceremony would be broadcast live on national television on March the 16th. Guided by the nation's economic blueprint, NDS1, the progress of each leader has been tracked, and these results will be announced with clear indications of those who exceeded their targets and those who did not, reads the statement. To foster a high-performance culture across the entire public sector, the government of Zimbabwe will, on March 16, 2023, sign performance contracts under the Integrated Results-Based Management System with all cabinet ministers, all permanent secretaries, all CEOs of local authorities, and all CEOs of state-owned enterprises. The Office of the President and Cabinet said the performance contracts would all be evaluated on delivery, efficacy, management, and implementation.
Well, after the break, we return with news from South Africa with Ari Hohad.
fill up about 2 tanks a week. A tank of fuel cost me about 140 to 150 Namibian dollars. I was very fortunate that a couple of my friends and I went to Tsumeb for the day, slept over, and then we rode back the next day. I found the service at the Namco service stations to be quite fast and friendly, which is really nice, especially when we're on the open road and we want to get to our next destination. What makes me proud Namibian is the fact that we've got all these lovely wide open spaces. And although we are from all different backgrounds, we can all get together and we can have a great time.
Yes, still with Africa. Good morning. Now in South Africa, Health Minister Joe Phala has called on the Nehawu Union leadership to instruct employees to stop the wage strike and to immediately return to work. Here to give us the full details of the story, Ari Hohat. Good morning, Ari.
Hi, very good morning, Diana, and everyone listening. And yes, it's important for South Africa that is addressed. It is Nehawu is the Education and Health and Allied Workers Union. They're on strike for some time now, and the challenge is that it includes hospitals, and there's patients that died, unfortunately, 4 that I know of that I saw in reports. So that's concerning. The urgency from the minister is that there's a content of Labour Court judgment that he put on the table. There was a Labour Court judgment that they should go to back to work, and that's because of essential services like doctors and nurses, etc. So that is a challenge at the moment. The Education Department also in the process. The reason is they want an increase of between 10% and 12% in the 2,500 Rand monthly home loan addition. So the government only offers 4.7%. So that is concerning. Also more concerning for South Africa, I think, is that from on Monday the 20th, there's talk of a national shutdown strike organized by the EFF and with also the SA Federation of Trade Unions involved. And the DA, the Democratic Alliance, they went to court and asking for that to be challenged, and that is specifically to challenge intimidation and vandalism and also looting that might happen. The police, they in the photo, police services also might go on strike. So imagine that there's a shutdown, there's people in the street, and there's no police. So hopefully that can be addressed by the court order by the DA.
All right, we understand that a Turkish company seeking to supply electricity to South Africa via power boats in 3 harbors have experienced several setbacks in their project. Tell us about this.
Yes, power ships, they, in many countries in Africa specifically, but they go to the harbors, they just in the harbor, and they generate electricity from the harbor. The concerns from South Africa is twofold. It's environmental, what impact will be on the environmental side of it, and that is where there's also a challenge for the Department of Forestries and Fisheries and Environmental. They didn't approve the application to moor in Kuga. That's one of the 3 harbors that was identified. So it's Kuga and Saldanha and also Richards Bay. So new studies need to be done, and also the cost of that. Estimated that it would be 200 billion South African rand over 20 years to have this extra electricity, extra 2,000 megawatt generated through those ships. So they're quite impressive, but it might be quite expensive. And South Africa's limitation to actually get from the man in the street and the woman in the street, get the money back for what the electricity that they use. So that is in the news. South Africa at the moment in stage 3 and 4 daily, we have shutdowns. Obviously, we learn to live with that, and it's because of breakdowns and maintenance at all these power stations. At the moment, it's stage 3, stage 4 from tonight.
All right, now over to some positive news. One thing about you, Ari, when you come on over, you bring us some very good wine from South Africa. So let's talk about the 4 South African winemakers that were listed among the top 100 in the world.
Yes, life is not only about power cuts and strikes, Diana. So we need some wine. Yes, it's a good performance. It's 4 wine makers, wine masters that was acknowledged globally. The first one is the Bruce Jack. There's the Bruce Jack label, and they just an hour away from Cape Town in the Bredekloof Valley. Also, it is Graham West, he's from Cape Census, and then also Samuel Viljoen from Nederburg. Nederburg also very close to Stellenbosch, and that is Bruce Jack there in action in his vineyards, and then also Dewald Heinz, he's from Sorensberg. The four of them, they achieved that. That is Dewald Heinz, they from Sorensberg, they in Tilbach, just an hour from Cape Town. But briefly, South Africa only produced 4.1% of the world's production of wine, so it's great to have these people acknowledged in the drinks business, Masters Winemakers 100 list. So we can be proud of the achievements of our winemakers in South Africa.
Definitely. Now, the ABSA's Cape Epic cycle race, one of the world's premier mountain bike cycle tours, starts in Cape Town this weekend. Tell us about it.
Yes, one of the most respected and well-known mountain bike races in the world globally, and South Africa can be proud of putting that together every year. It's based in Cape Town, from Cape Town. It will start on Sunday. That's the backdrop there. It's the Cape Epic, sponsored by ABSA, starting on the 19th with a prologue, and then 7 stages, 680 teams. It's 2 men and 2 women teams and mixed teams. So not many teams in that. It's 658 kilometers over the course of the 8 days. And it is climbing 15,000 meters, 15 kilometers in that time. But we're proud of those two. They just completed the Cape Town cycle tour, first and second. On the left there in purple is Kim Lacourt below. She's from Mauritius. Good friend of her is Vera Lusa of Namibia. They're on the right. So they're a strong team in the women's division. Hopefully they can do well, and we shout for them to win it as well. So it's tough. They go uphill like that on the photo. 15 kilometers they need to rise, go up and climb. So it's a tough one for them, and it will be from Cape Town to Hermanus and back. So we're looking forward to see how Vera Luce and Kim Lacourt below will do in that.
Well, we are wishing them the best of luck, and we will be keeping an eye out to see how they do. Thank you so much, Ari, for giving us the latest news on the ground in South Africa.
Thank you, Diana. And Aina, great day for everyone. We talk again next week, Wednesday, South African News.
And now let's take a look at the weather predictions. In economic news this morning, ADB to strengthen agribusiness financing as it launches new corporate strategy. The Agricultural Development Bank has launched a new corporate strategy with the commitment to strengthen agribusiness financing to accelerate the achievement of its vision to be the People's Bank, harnessing the transformational power of agribusiness for wealth creation. The new corporate strategy, which was considered and approved by the board of directors of the bank, replaces a 3-year strategy that expired on the 31st of December 2022. Getting into our next story, BOT extends the administration period of Year 2 microfinance. The Bank of Tanzania yesterday announced that it has extended the administration period of Year 2 microfinance PLC by 30 days. In a public notice by the BOT governor dated March 14th, the regulator announced that the decision was reached after the process to determine a resolution option was not reached. On December 12, 2022, BOT took over the administration of Year 2 Microfinance Bank PLC after it had determined that the bank was facing critical liquidity and capital problems.
We'll take a look at our economic indicators and thereafter the sports by Ari Khogad.
Good day everyone, time for international sports news, starting off with tennis news. Firstly, it's the BNP Paribas Open that's being played in California. All the best men's and women's players in action on the world ranking, both men and women playing in the same tournament. And it is on the women's side, it is Ons Jabeur, unfortunately from an African perspective, from Tunisia. She lost in the round of 32, or in the third round, and she lost to Marleta van der Sova, and the score there was 7-6 and 6-4. She's the number 4 seed, Ons Jabeur, out of the tournament. Caroline Garcia, number 5 seed, she's through to the next round, and she beat Leylah Fernandez, always a difficult opponent. She played in the US Open final a few years ago. Leylah Fernandez from Canada, and it is Garcia from France winning 6-4, 6-7 and 6-1 in the third. Also number 1 seed in the women's side is Iga Swiatek. She's from Poland. She's through to the next round, beating Bianca Andreescu, and 6-3, 7-6 the score there. On the men's side of the draw, also 2 high seeds that's out of the tournament. Firstly, number 7 seed Hubert Hurkacz. He lost to Tommy Paul of United States in 3 sets. And then also in the third round, loser is Helge Rune. He's from Denmark, and he was number 5 seed, and he's out losing to the experienced Sam Wawrinka. Score there 6-2, 6-7 and 7-5. On to golf news, and the new world rankings came out for the men and the women. On the men's side, it is a new world number 1. It's Scottie Scheffler. Scottie Scheffler won the Players' Championship the past weekend in the United States in Florida, and he's the new world number 1. He also earned $4.5 million in his winner's check for winning the Players' Championship. World number 2 now is Jon Rahm, moving from number 1 to number 2, and Rory McIlroy stays at number 3 in the world rankings. Southern African interest in the men's division, it is Christian Besaidnout. He had a good players tournament. He was in the top 15, and he drops down from number 81 to number 68 in the world. He gained 13 places. On the women's side of the world rankings, it is good news for Ashley Buhai of South Africa. She won the South African Open the last weekend. That was played in Cape Town, and by winning that, she bettered 2 positions on the world rankings. She's now in the top 20. She's number 18 in the world. So good performance there by Ashley Buhai of South Africa. Number 1 in the world at the moment still Lydia Ko of New Zealand, and the number 2 in the world at the moment, Nelly Korda of the United States. Continuing international sports news with rugby news, and it's all to play for this coming Saturday. It is for Ireland in the Six Nations Rugby Championship. If they win the game at home against England, they will be Six Nations champions. At the moment, 4 points leader on the log. They lead by 19 points. France got 15 points. So if Ireland beat England, that is in Dublin, they will be the Six Nations champion. If they lose against England, it is France that can still win the title. They play home against Wales, and if France win with a bonus point and Ireland don't get any bonus points, then it will be France that win. But it is Ireland definitely the favourites to win, because England had a dismal performance last weekend against England. They lost 53 points to 10 at home in London at Twickenham. So Ireland will be massive favourites. They do have a bit of a setback. 2 of their players injured. It is Gary Ringrose and also the lock Ian Henderson out for Saturday's game, but they've got lots of depth, and so they will definitely be up for it against England. Closing off with Formula 1 racing news, and it's news from Mercedes. It is leading up to this coming weekend's second race of the season, 2023 season. in Saudi Arabia. It is Lewis Hamilton of Mercedes that said that he challenged his team about accountability. That's because he said that he did indicate to the team what needs to be addressed from the 2022 car, but he said it didn't happen for the new car they're driving at the moment. It's specifically also to do with the balance through the corners. That is what Lewis Hamilton said. Team principal Toto Wolff also admitted, he said that they made a mistake to pursue the 2022 car's philosophy, and that is not doing well for 2023 at the moment. Many of the car makers followed Red Bull's design. For instance, it was Aston Martin that copied the design of Red Bull, and they had a good performance in the first race in Bahrain. That's international sports news for today. Hope you have a great sport day, and we talk again tomorrow. Goodbye.
NMH at 1 brings you news from all across Namibia. If you would like to feature your brand or campaign on this platform, contact NMH1 at synergy.com.na. NMH at 1, your lunchtime news companion.
You're still with Africa Good Morning. If you're just joining us, here are the news highlights. Greedy Speaker Nelly Mutti dragged to court over late father's estate. South African government tells Zimbabwe lecturers on exemption permits that their services are no longer required. US, UK and Australia agree on nuclear submarine project. ADB to strengthen agribusiness financing as it launches new corporate strategy.
Thank you for watching our show. We'll be back tomorrow, same time, same place. From all of us here in studio, it's all our love, all our light, and a very happy Wednesday.